One of the challenges, though, that's happening more and more, is especially with the advent of crowdfunding and more incubators, a lot of the questions like that I ask is, let's just assume this first product that you're building actually is going to work. How does this become a big company? Because it looks like there's going to be a lot of lifestyle businesses built. And in fact, some of the promise of a lot of these devices are things that are going to require a subscription or a SaaS-based revenue for a long period of time. And you may have gotten behind the 8 ball enough that you're spending all your time just trying to fulfill that. And there's no guarantee that 3-4 years after the product ships that it's even going to be around. And so I think that's one of the challenges is, historically, hardware companies were really hard to build. And now all of a sudden, Chapter 1 just got a lot easier. But Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 are much, much harder. So having the team and having enough quality of thought about what happens after that first device is a success is kind of what weeds out the obvious investments for the ones that look like it's going to be a Kickstarter lifestyle business. I think there are a lot of ways to figure out that Chapter 2, 3, 4 for a hardware company. I think that a mistake I often see, one is there are some companies that are really just kind of one-trick ponies, and they have the DNA of a one-trick pony. They have a product that looks like it doesn't have any logical adjacencies to what it's doing, and is probably going to be a lifestyle business. So put that aside for a second. Let's assume you have a product that is a good entry point product, and the question is, do you go this way, do you go this way, and what does that mean? I think a lot of people think too much and take kind of an MBA type approach, which is let's look at the market, let's boil the ocean, let's do a top down and bottom up and figure out what's going to happen. Maybe I'm brainwashed, but I spend all my time thinking from the consumer side, which is really what does the consumer want? And one of the things that I've noticed is going to CES the last couple of years, the explosion in like the wearable category. The wearable category is simultaneously, when I go to CES and see racks and racks and aisles of kind of the same device, is that it's still somewhat early and niche, and yet it feels commoditized. And that's confusing to me as a customer, right? And at the end of the day, I think people underweight the power of brand. And I think that brand has changed a lot because of social media, because of the web. That people are buying on a brand promise of what a brand represents as much as what one individual device is. I mean, Starbucks is probably one of the best examples anywhere, which is it's still just a cup of coffee, but they're doing $15 billion of revenue on a $5 AOV, which is kind of freaking insane, right? Because of the brand promise and what it stands for. And that comes from the experience you get when you walk in the door all the way to what Howard represents and who he is and the authenticity of what he's building. So the first thing I would start off with, let's say you were building, I don't know, a camera that sticks on the table. If you were building that, and a lot of people have them, you want to think about that end customer, which is, are they integrating that into their actual lives? And what does that give you license to do with kind of the economics? And if that means that you're going to take money on a SaaS basis, on a regular basis from that end customer, so be it. In general, there's a pretty high bar to take money on a subscription basis from an end customer. Most people hate recurring billing, except for things that they feel like they're getting value on a monthly basis. People hate to feel like they're getting extorted out of money that they can't shut off. But Netflix actually kind of works the other way, which is every month you're feeling like I got more than my $8 worth. And so I think one of the things on the consumer side is, if you're above that bar for a monthly subscription, because on a monthly basis, it's not a gym membership where you regret signing up. It's something you're signing up for that you're like, damn right, I paid my $8 this month, I feel like I'm ripping off this business, then that's great. So I would definitely look at that, because that SaaS model changes the unit economics and that kind of customer acquisition cost versus lifetime value dramatically. Okay, but these kind of boxes of the month club where they're sending you a box of junk, there were about a million of those at the same time, most of those died out because people just don't like paying on a subscription basis. I think whether you expand into other devices or go deeper in your device really depends on what that entry point is and what you have licensed from a customer to build. Now, you don't want to blindly just build what the customer says, because a lot of times customers don't know. They can't see very far in their future. So you end up, I think most great entrepreneurs have a very strong internal compass. Kind of the Steve Jobs effect. Say that, if you ask customers, no one would ever say they wanted an iPod or wanted, an iPhone. But you need a strong internal compass and still listen to your customers. And I think one of the keys in listening to customers is, what does your brand promise give you license to build that's adjacent to that? One of the great investments that we did recently was Zulily, and went public for a great valuation early this year. And it's a flash site sales site for moms. And what we found is that the end customer, these moms, were coming in every morning at 6 a.m. in the morning and spending that 6 to 6:10 in the morning literally shopping for this long tail of the deals that day. And it was a very habitual process. And then we started finding actually that there are a lot of adjacents, that moms don't want to just buy stuff for their kids, but also want to buy stuff for themselves or want to buy furniture for their houses. And what we started to see is that because of that behavior and who that end customer was, we had a lot of license to test our way into selling a lot of other stuff. So I would encourage you guys to start with what's that real customer value proposition, and what do they want, and what does it give you license to also sell them.